Hey everyone, what's going on? GGD Modern Massive 2 just dropped. You've seen the hype everywhere on the internet. Hopefully you've gone over to the GGD page, watched Nolly's 1 hour walkthrough of everything, goes through everything in microscopic detail. But I just bought this and I'm going to be your fellow caveman to show you how everything actually works compared to other drum libraries. I'm going to take a look at some of the new features, what's cool, and what's also a bit rough around the edges when it comes to Modern Massive 2. Now, if you just want to know the burning question, is this thing worth it in my opinion, then use the timecodes below, because once we go through a walkthrough, I'll talk about all that stuff at the end of the video. So if you want to speedrun it, go ahead. Now, this is an unsponsored video. I've got no links to GGD, got no ties or anything, but I figured there's kind of value in at least one guy on the internet doing a review of Modern Massive 2 that's willing to sort of cut through the sunshines and rainbows, because this thing is seriously hyped, you know. So let's not waste any more time, let's jump into GGD, Modern Massive 2 and see what it's all about. Alright, so I've just pulled everything up here in Reaper. I've got the same drum MIDI over a few kits here. You can see the names on the left. So Modern Massive 2, Modern Massive 1, One Kit Wonder Metal, Pop Punk. Then you have Counter Kit. And this is the sort of stuff that I would do when I buy a new kit. I want to compare it to stuff that I already have and just feel the sort of sonic playground that it lives in and all that stuff. So these are all the default presets. You do have different presets in all of these, but if we start playing that game, we'll be here forever going through stuff. So we're going to look at Modern Massive 2 in depth, but we just want to hear the default presets from the different kits just to hear the out of the box sounds. You know what I'm going for. So let's take a listen to Modern Massive 2. So now that you heard those, why don't you let me know in the comments what you think about the out-of-the-box sounds of Modern Massive 2 versus those other kits. We'll talk a little bit about the value proposition of Modern Massive 2 versus other things later on in the video. But yeah, I found that pretty interesting when I first loaded things up. So here's the drum kit, you know, click on everything, go to town on it. If you right-click things, you get different options for all the different stuff there. So those are the kicks, those are the snares. I'm sure you've used the drum library by now. You know how all this stuff works. So we'll just skim through that stuff. You've got your grooves down the bottom. We'll check out grooves a little bit later, the different speeds. It's a whole revamped UI. And to be honest, everybody's gone through this stuff, so you don't really need me to go through the UI. First thing I want to look at though is the drum shots. So if we just play this, we can add some one-shot samples on top of it. So we'll leave that snare as is and we'll go to the one-shot section. So right now you only get the one-shots that come with it. I think you can load your own ones later. There's a few different updates coming to this apparently. But you know, we'll just choose, we'll go with Snapper. So we'll load that on there. That's pretty cool, and you can load a whole bunch of different ones and blend things with this 4-channel blender kind of thing. You can change the pitch and the length, so we'll pitch it up a little bit. So straight away you can see there's like heaps of different shaping options with this stuff. Same thing for the kicks. I've just left the snare exactly where it was. We'll take a look at the kick stuff. So as far as the one-shots go, it's only for the kick and snare. Those are kind of the main one-shot things in general, just snares and kicks. So let's check out some presets. Here's some ones that I thought were pretty cool. So this is the Zach Savini Pop Rock Kit 1. Here is the Forrester Saville Natural preset. Another Zach Savini one that I have written down, the Def Hill kit. Erman's got a couple there. We'll check out Your Own Summer, My Own Summer. We'll check out another Erman one, the Fat Boy. Yeah, there's a ton of presets that you can go through. There's so much to try there. I could do a whole video just going, make like a 2-hour video just flicking through presets. The next thing I wanted to show is the mixer. So I'm used to using the default template now, so there's no additional processing going on. This is what the mixer looks like. If you've used Superior Drummer or anything like that, it's a very similar sort of concept. So on every single channel, you can add these different effects. And then you can also make sub buses. So you can see I've got 4 different channels here for the kick. If I want to group those, if I want to do some processing to all of those, I can like come along here. So create a new channel, a bus, we'll call it kick bus. Backwards, bring me the horizon. I got my caps lock on there. So we go all the way over to the kicks. And then I would just, so here are the 4 kicks I've got. These are now routed to the master bus. I can just route them to my new one that I created. So yeah, now if I want to do some processing to all of those channels, everything's going to the kick bus, so I can just add an EQ on there. There's literally an endless amount of combinations of stuff that you can do in here, and very, very cool. What I want to do now is bring up somebody's presets. Let's say Jordan Valerian. I liked his rock kit. The cool thing about the mixers, you can actually see the processing moves that they like. So if you like the way they do things to a kick, you can see the EQ that he's putting on there. Crazy amounts of EQ. It's sort of like peeking under the hood of somebody's drum session. So that in itself is very cool. And if you're the sort of person that wants to learn these techniques, then you have it all splayed out here in front of you to sort of soak in and figure out what's going on. All right, let's take a look at the mapping. And what we're about to see is one of the most impressive things for GGD, because I see so many people asking questions about mappings. Like they have a drum kit, they can't get it going, or they use multiple different software. Drum mappings for MIDIs are always a nightmare. And their map configs are crazy now. Like they have all the legacy stuff, the GGD. Look how many mappings they have for all this different stuff. Slate drums. And look at all the different kits. Like imagine somebody had this DDS22 kit before. They'd be so lost trying to get this stuff going. So I definitely see the amount of work that they've put into this, and a huge pat on the back, because the people that need help with this stuff, it's just so handy that it's here ready to go. So the last thing we're going to look at is grooves. So you should know what MIDI grooves are. They're just drum beats ready to go. So song 1 verse A. Super complicated stuff. I feel like things in the grooves page are a little bit unrealized or underdeveloped at the moment. I know people have asked the GGD team a bunch of questions, and there is stuff coming. I'll leave that in my end of the video stuff. But yeah, you can even see up the top, there's a 4/4 signature. You'd imagine there'd be like metadata tags that you can use for like punk, metal. So irrespective of the groove pack, maybe you want like blast beats or something, you know, just different metadata options that other groove ecosystems sort of have. Even now, you can filter by BPM. So if you're looking for a specific BPM, you can narrow things down that way. You just need more of these options, because as you start to have tons and tons and tons of MIDI grooves, you want to be able to find them really easily. I think there's like 1,500 MIDI grooves that come with this. Now people have asked about backloading old GGD packs, because I have some GGD MIDI groove packs that I can't load in here now. Apparently that's coming in like the next fortnight, so it's a wait and see situation. But I like what they've done with this, but they just really need to build on it. It's super basic at the moment. There's not much to talk about here. You know, it's really just choose your pack, rock pack, find your song that you want, and then just go through the, you know, bridge, chorus, that kind of thing. So I've got my pros and cons list here. We're going to go through some of the cons. These are just the things I found in the last couple of days. There's no demo for it, so you can't go get a demo. It's quite a big leap of faith. The second thing is price. At that price point, I really think they should have a demo. I understand they probably couldn't demo Contact stuff because you're within the Contact ecosystem, but they're bragging about things being standalone now through Cradle. That's great. That's awesome. You should be able to demo this stuff, because you really need to try it hands-on to see if it's worthwhile. Now, the next con I have is with auditioning presets, so we can take a listen to things now. But if I pull up the presets and want to audition these things, you can't. So if I want to, what's anger? And then if you want to listen to another one, that sort of process just gets a little bit cumbersome. You would think as you click on it, like this screen would open, you would just click on one, it would audition the sound. It wouldn't like fully go into it. You know what I'm talking about. There just seems to be a little bit of finessing with auditioning presets. Now, another con that I found is I've just called it menu lag. There's just some times where you're doing things, especially when I was building out that counter kit mapping, where you click things and it's very easy to just miss, and I don't know how to fully explain it, but it just doesn't feel smooth. They could just smooth things out in terms of the UI. I can't think of where else this was, but especially inside here, it was a little bit infuriating to precisely click things. So menu lag, that's something that I found to be a little bit annoying. I've written down the groove section is lacking compared to something like Superior 3. You can't load your own grooves in there. You can't load their grooves in there. They are going to be backwards compatible, but you just can't do that stuff yet. Now, another thing is stacking kits. So inside of Kontakt, you could actually stack kits. You could stack some GGD stuff. You could stack some non-GGD stuff. But typically, GGD users would stack like one kit wonder metal, brutal. They might use the cymbals from one kit and, you know, the snare from another kit, that kind of thing. You can't do that in here. It just seems to be a one-shot application. And that begs the other question I had that I asked that nobody ever got back to, and that is Modern and Massive 2 going to be the new host and then more drums come in here? Like if I buy, I don't know, say Invasion 2, can I just right click here and get all the other different Invasion stuff? Or will there be another drop down like in Superior that has the kit names there? Or are they going to be their own individual plugin? And I think that's an important question because, you know, if you buy Superior 3, there's like one cost for Superior 3, and then for each kit that you buy, it's a little bit cheaper. This is a pretty penny. It's a pretty penny for this plugin. So if they're going to keep bringing out expensive plugins, you know, that's just something to consider. But if they're going to be all sort of meshed into one, maybe things will be a little bit cheaper. But it also plays into stacking kits. So it's just a, you know, what am I dealing with here? I'm about to fork over some money. It'd be interesting to know how they're going to manage future releases on the new platform. So enough about the negatives. Let's talk about the positives. It is standalone, so no longer tied to Kontakt. Ironically, after using Kontakt for like 5+ years, I'm totally fine with Kontakt. But man, it was an absolute nightmare when I started, just getting things installed. Things just didn't plug and play, like the routings and all that stuff, man, just crazy. I actually started my YouTube channel because of Kontakt. The first video on my channel was how to route GGD kits. That just tells you what I think about Kontakt. Now it's fine, but I'm so happy that they moved away from it because anybody jumping into this game doesn't have to deal with Kontakt, and that is going to be a great thing. I wrote down high number of options for kit pieces. I think this is pretty good. Heaps of variety. You know, you might be rocking one set of things and you like the way the Modern and Massive 2 sounds. It's very easy to just change it over. And again, you can come in and you can change the levels, the attributes, you can change the pitch of things. There's so much flexibility, even just when it comes to the kit pieces alone without the mixer. Speaking of the mixer, we flick over to the mixer and this is just incredible. I also think this is just the start of things to come. I can definitely see them adding more complex modules. Even if they don't evolve, just this mixer in general is just so cool for the GGD world. And the last cool thing that I've got written down is preset sharing is going to be way easier. I know there's heaps of people selling like DAW templates, like Reaper templates or Cubase templates, and you have to use heaps of different plugins to get that stuff done. Now, either paid or unpaid options, people can just share presets. You can just import someone's preset, pull it up, and then all the magic is going to be happening inside the mixer. So that is just so cool for somebody who's not that experienced with things. They can just take somebody's preset, load it up here. They don't really have to know all the nerd stuff going on. They can just get things sounding great with a lot more ease. So there we go. There's a quick look at Modern and Massive 2. Now the price of this thing is 285 Australian dollars, which is about 180 US dollars, quite up there in terms of drum library prices. So I guess you want to know, is it worth it? Now there are really two main groups this plugin is speaking to. First, you've got the beginner intermediate crowd, you know, people doing demos, songwriting, maybe pre-production. They're not deep into audio engineering. They just want something that sounds good and fast. Then there's a sort of advanced or pro crowd. These ones know their way around a mix. They've invested thousands of dollars into interfaces, mics, preamps, outboard gear, amps, pedals, pickups. You know the sort of type of person. And for that second pro crowd of people, I think 180 US dollars for a drum library that's co-developed by Nolly, and you know, with presets from Nolly, Forrester Saville, Zach Savini, and all those sorts of guys. It's kind of a no-brainer in their world. 180 barely books an empty studio for half a day. For them, it's probably a complete steal. But for the beginner or intermediate user, I think that price point stings a little bit, especially if you've got or you own a couple of the OKW kits, for around a third of the price, those kits are super mix ready and totally get the job done. Like if you already have OKW Brutal, Metal, or Pop Punk and you're tempted by the hype around Modern Massive 2, just ask yourself, are you really missing anything now with your songwriting? Because here's the truth, there's no magic bullet with this stuff. You know, Modern Massive 2 isn't going to suddenly transform your mixes overnight. You know, in fact, you might just end up cycling through presets trying to find a vibe when your older kits already had exactly what you needed. And one last sort of lens to look at this thing through, if you're a pro or somebody who already uses like Easy Drummer, Superior Drummer 3 with dialed in templates and your favorite kits, I don't think this is going to replace that sort of stuff. To me, this sort of feels like another SD3 kit, which is really a compliment, but it's not necessarily a revelation. It's more like Superior Drum Light. Now, don't get me wrong, that's a huge compliment. Modern Massive 2 is a huge step up for GGD. This is easily their best kit yet, and they deserve huge praise for the stuff. Now, I'll probably be using a Modern Massive 2 for a fair while to justify my purchase. So if you want to see any drum programming stuff from the viewpoint of a guitarist, then let me know in the comment section below. So yeah, hopefully this has all helped. And if you have any questions or anything, let me know in the comments. And if you stuck around to the end of the video, you're a legend, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.